Welcome to SoulScripture. Chosen one, you are not merely living through a season. You are being divinely preserved for a future that far outlasts your adversaries. In a world where enemies plot in secret and some seem to rise only to see you fall, there is a deeper truth working quietly in your favor. God has marked you for survival. Your story is not one of fleeting victory, but of enduring purpose, a testimony that stretches far beyond the reach of every scheme, curse, or jealous gaze cast against you. Even now, there are forces, both seen and unseen, that have set themselves against your progress. People may have whispered your name in rooms you never entered, weaving narratives of defeat, betrayal, or limitation. Some have even gone so far as to hope you would fade away, be forgotten, or that the doors in front of you would close forever. But what they didn't account for is the seal of preservation God placed over your life, a spiritual force field, invisible to the naked eye, but impenetrable to every attack. There is a reason you have survived what others could not. Every accident avoided, every coincidence of timing, every closed door that redirected you was the orchestration of heaven's preservation plan. You may have felt overlooked, but you were actually being protected, hidden in plain sight until the appointed time. Remember Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, falsely accused, left to rot in a prison. While his enemies celebrated his downfall, God was preserving him in obscurity, positioning him for a future of influence and redemption. The mark of preservation on your life is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is the gentle nudge to turn left instead of right, the mysterious favor with strangers, the dream that warns you of unseen danger, the strength that appears just when you're about to collapse. While enemies wear themselves out trying to block your path, God is steadily moving you forward, building resilience, strengthening your core, and teaching you the discipline of patience. Chosen one, you must understand that survival is not your only inheritance. Thriving is. God is not content to merely keep you alive. He intends for you to flourish, to outlive the shelf life your enemies tried to impose. The story of the Israelites in Egypt is proof. When Pharaoh tried to erase them, they multiplied. The more they were oppressed, the stronger they became. Divine preservation is a promise that what was meant to destroy you will in fact become the soil for your increase. You are stepping into a season where your presence alone is evidence of God's faithfulness. Your continued rise, the glow that returns to your face, the energy that will not be quenched, all of it is testimony that no weapon formed against you can prosper. You may not always see the hands working behind the scenes, but know this: heaven is guarding your destiny with a vigilance and zeal that outpaces every attack. As you move forward, you'll start to sense this preservation at deeper levels. Old patterns of burnout will break. Self-sabotage will lose its grip. Accidents will be averted. Relationships restored, and opportunities delayed will suddenly find their way back to you. It will be as if God Himself has stretched your timeline, granting you not just more years, but more fulfillment, more impact, more legacy. Chosen one, you are marked to outlast every enemy, not by your own might, but by God's divine preservation. The battles you fought in secret, the nights you spent wondering if you'd make it, were not wasted. They were setting the stage for a longevity and victory that will surprise even you. Trust the process. Embrace your preservation. For you are not just a survivor, you are a sign that God's chosen ones cannot be erased. Chosen one, the path to outlasting your enemies is never paved with ease. Instead, it winds through hidden seasons of training, delays that seem like denials, detours that feel like disappointments, and long stretches where it appears nothing is happening at all. But don't be fooled by what you see on the surface. God's strategy for your longevity isn't about quick victory. It's about deep roots and unshakable strength. While others spend their energy rushing to be seen, you are being fortified in the secret place. In these hidden seasons, you might feel like you're falling behind, overlooked, or even forgotten. The doors that open for others remain shut for you. While others leap from one platform to the next, your steps feel slow and heavy. But this is divine design, not accidental delay. God knows that a quick rise often leads to a quick fall. He loves you too much to let you skip the process required to stand the test of time. Think of David, anointed as king but sent back to tend sheep. He learned the art of worship in obscurity, fought off lions and bears when no one was watching, and became skilled with his sling long before Goliath appeared. Every hidden trial was a lesson in survival, a deposit in his spiritual endurance account. When the time for elevation finally came, he was not just a survivor, he was a warrior, tried and true. Your enemies may look like they're thriving now. They may even mock your slow progress, assuming that your lack of visibility is proof you will never rise. But the truth is, God is using every quiet day, every no, every season of silence to strengthen what is unseen. Your roots are growing deeper than the storms can reach. Your patience is becoming a weapon. Your humility is preparing you for influence that prideful hearts could never sustain. This training is not just mental or spiritual, it is physical and emotional as well. God is allowing you to face resistance so you learn how to bend but not break. You discover how to rest, how to recover, how to discern which battles are worth fighting and which should be left to Him. This discipline is what keeps you in the race long after others have burned out. While your enemies spend their strength on temporary victories, short-lived applause, fleeting pleasures, shallow alliances, you are learning the art of longevity. You are storing up wisdom, learning to wait for God's timing, and discovering the power of moving in silence. When the breakthrough comes, you will have the stamina and character to sustain it. Do not despise these hidden years. They are the secret to your preservation. What looks like a setback is really a setup. What feels like a wilderness is actually a boot camp for the spirit. The fire you face today is forging the endurance you will need tomorrow, when the tables turn and your enemies watch as you walk in blessing and authority. Chosen one, this training is your inheritance. You are not wasting time, you are being made indestructible. And soon, when the spotlight finally finds you, you'll realize that the delay was not to hurt you, but to make sure you outlast everyone and everything sent to stop you. Your training in the shadows is the very thing that will ensure you walk in the light for generations to come. Chosen one, the world may never know the true cost of your endurance. What they see is your calm, your smile, your perseverance, but only heaven knows the unseen battles you have fought and survived. You are still standing, not because life has been easy, but because your spirit has been made unbreakable in the fires of silent warfare. So many of the fiercest attacks you've faced were invisible to those around you. They came in the form of sudden discouragement, inexplicable heaviness, waves of fear or confusion that made you question your worth or your future. Sometimes you battled loneliness so deep that words could not reach it. Other times, you felt surrounded by envy, slander, or spiritual resistance that seemed relentless. Yet, every morning you rose again, sometimes on shaky legs, sometimes with nothing but a whispered prayer, but always with the conviction that you would not give up. You need to know this. The battles you have fought in secret are the very proof of your calling. The enemy does not waste resources on those with no destiny. The fact that you've endured so much opposition is evidence that you carry a weight of purpose the enemy fears. You have been targeted not for your weaknesses, but for your potential. And though it has often felt unbearable, every trial has been a tool in God's hands to forge resilience, wisdom, and depth. In the book of Job, we see a man whose unseen faithfulness outlasted every attack. Job lost wealth, family, health, and status, all at the permission of heaven, for a test only the strongest could survive. His friends saw his suffering and assumed he was cursed, but heaven saw a heart that would not break, a loyalty that could not be shaken. In the end, Job's restoration was double because his spirit had proven indestructible under pressure. Your journey is not unlike Job's. Patrice, while others have tried to break your spirit through words, actions, or subtle manipulation, You have learned the art of spiritual self-defense. You discovered that worship is a weapon, that prayer changes atmospheres, and that sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to quit. Each time you refused bitterness, chose forgiveness, or kept moving when you wanted to hide, your spirit grew tougher, your roots dug deeper, and your authority in the spiritual realm increased. What people do not realize is that you are still here, still loving, still believing, still hoping, because God Himself fought for you in the night. There were moments when strength left you, but angels ministered to you. There were days when your tears were your only prayer, but heaven collected everyone. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are battle-tested, and the invisible scars you carry are badges of honor in the courts of heaven. Chosen one, don't diminish the cost of your endurance. It is your proof, your preparation, and your prophecy. When the day comes that your enemies are exposed and your name is vindicated, it will not be by your striving, but by the testimony of a spirit that could not be broken. The world may never see the full story, but God does, and He will reward you openly for every unseen battle you have survived. Remember, you are still standing, and that alone is a victory your enemies can never erase. Chosen one, you may not always see it happening, but God is actively outlasting, exposing, and neutralizing every scheme set against you. Even as you sleep, even as you work or worship or wait in faith, the divine hand is at work, unraveling plans that were woven in the shadows. Nothing escapes His attention. Not a single word whispered in jealousy, not a single trap set in secret, not a single plot hatched behind your back. You are not defenseless. You are divinely defended. Throughout Scripture, we see God's uncanny ability to turn every weapon of the enemy into a tool for your victory. Remember Haman, who built gallows for Mordecai. It was Haman who hung there in the end. The very plot designed to destroy the righteous became the stage for their exaltation. So it will be in your life. Every attack is being turned back on itself. Every lie is becoming the backdrop for truth. Every curse is reversing into a blessing. It can be tempting to focus on what your enemies are doing, to feel threatened by their alliances, their words, or the power they appear to wield. But the truth is, their strength is fleeting. Every plan made without God's approval is destined to unravel. The longer you walk in obedience and humility, the more God exposes what needs to be seen. Sometimes, people who once stood against you will suddenly distance themselves, as if removed by an invisible hand. Others will be forced to confess, apologize, or simply lose interest in opposing you, because the spiritual cost is too high for them to maintain. Often, God allows you to see only glimpses of what's being dismantled behind the scenes. Perhaps a deal that falls through was meant to entrap you. A relationship that ends painfully actually saves you from deeper betrayal. Opportunities you mourned, jobs you didn't get, or doors that seemed to slam in your face. These are often evidence that God is neutralizing what would have brought harm, even when it feels like disappointment in the moment. This is not just about survival. God's protection is about vindication. He delights in showing that His chosen ones are not abandoned, not defenseless, and not at the mercy of any plot or power. There will come a time when those who tried to destroy you will be forced to watch your elevation. Like Daniel in the lion's den, you will walk out unharmed, while those who conspired against you face the consequences of their own schemes. But even as God deals with your enemies, your heart must remain pure. Do not rejoice in the downfall of others. Remember, vindication is God's specialty, but humility is the chosen one's posture. Your blessing will be undeniable, but your response must always be one of mercy, gratitude, and continued faithfulness. Chosen one, rest in this truth. You do not need to fight every battle in your own strength. The God who preserves you is the same God who exposes and neutralizes every plot against you. As you walk in the light, darkness cannot overtake you. As you remain faithful, every scheme is unraveling even now. Let peace settle in your heart. For soon, what was meant for your harm will be remembered only as the soil where God's victory grew. Chosen one. One of the greatest secrets of divine preservation is that God is not just helping you escape, He is building you to endure. While your enemies run out of steam, you are being renewed in body, mind, and soul for the long haul. Your strength is not fleeting or superficial. It is the kind of deep, anchored vitality that only heaven can provide, and it's being cultivated so you can finish your race strong. This endurance is a miracle unfolding quietly within you. You may have noticed that despite the stress, attacks, or heartbreaks you've endured, you keep bouncing back. Sometimes you don't even know where your resilience comes from. It's simply there, a fresh wind in your sails, a gentle push that gets you up and moving when others would quit. This isn't just your personality or upbringing. It is the supernatural strength that God promised His chosen ones. Think of Caleb, who at 85 declared, "I am as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then." Caleb's secret wasn't in his genetics, but in the promise of God to preserve and empower him for every challenge. In the same way, God is renewing your energy, sharpening your mind, and healing your wounds, so that you are not only able to survive, but to thrive when others would fall away. This renewal isn't only physical. Your mind is being fortified against discouragement, confusion, and despair. Where you once spiraled into anxiety, now you recover more quickly. Your perspective is maturing. Setbacks no longer derail you for long. Your faith is becoming less about emotion and more about unshakable trust. These are the inner muscles God is strengthening, so you will not only outlive your enemies, but outlast the storms they send. You'll also notice your soul being restored. Where you were once weighed down by bitterness, fear, or resentment, now you sense a deep peace growing, a peace that isn't fragile, but fierce. Forgiveness comes more easily. Old triggers lose their power. Hope returns where you thought it was gone for good. Your soul is being tuned to a higher frequency, one that cannot be hijacked by the chaos around you. Let this encourage you. Divine endurance is the result of partnership. God supplies the strength, but you choose to trust, to rest, to keep moving forward. Every time you worship when it hurts, speak hope over your day, or resist the temptation to give up, you are participating in the miracle of your own preservation. While your enemies scramble and burn out, you are being established like a tree planted by living water, its roots going deep, its leaves staying green even in drought. This kind of longevity is not common, and that's why your story will be so compelling. You won't just be known for surviving a season, you'll be known for finishing your course with joy, health, wisdom, and lasting influence. Chosen one. Your endurance is your edge. God is not just pulling you through, He is preparing you to thrive all the way to the end. The longer you live, the stronger your testimony will become. And in the end, you will not just have outlasted your enemies, you will have outlived every curse, every setback, and every limitation that tried to stop you. Stand tall, breathe deep. Your strength is being renewed, day by day, for a future no enemy can take from you. Chosen one, you are entering the season where the very people who spoke against you, doubted your calling, or even worked against you, will have no choice but to witness your rise. When enemies fall, you rise not because you fought for vengeance, but because God specializes in vindication that no one can deny. The elevation of the chosen is never an accident. It is orchestrated by divine justice. There are moments in every chosen one's journey where it seems as if those who stood against you are winning. They may have had more resources, more influence, or simply a louder voice. You watched as they gathered allies, plotted in the shadows, or enjoyed short-lived victories at your expense. Their words may have wounded, their actions may have delayed you, and at times you might have wondered if you would ever break through. But God sees every injustice, and He never lets the final word rest with your enemies. The Bible is full of stories where the tables turn in dramatic and unexpected ways. Joseph's brothers bowed before him in Egypt, never expecting the dreamer they betrayed to become their savior. Daniel's accusers were thrown into the very den where they hoped he would be devoured. David, the overlooked shepherd, rose to be king, while Saul, his pursuer, faded into obscurity. In each case, those who tried to curse or crush God's chosen were eventually forced to recognize the favor and protection that surrounded them. You, too, are being positioned for such a reversal. Your enemies, whether people, situations, or even spiritual forces, will have to watch as God promotes, restores, and celebrates you in ways they never expected. This is not about arrogance or gloating. It is about the justice of God that brings restoration to the righteous and humility to the proud. Sometimes, God allows your rise to happen in front of those who wished for your fall, so that His power, not yours, receives the glory. Let this truth settle deep. Your vindication is coming. Every tear you shed, every hour you labored in obscurity, every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness was a seed planted for a harvest of honor. Your pain is not forgotten, it is being woven into your promotion. When God lifts you up, no one can pull you down. When He opens doors, no one can shut them. The very platform your enemies tried to deny you will become the stage where God unveils your story. This rise, however, is not just for your sake. It is so that others may witness the faithfulness and power of the God you serve. Your testimony will inspire those who feel overlooked, oppressed, or betrayed. People will see that your blessing is not the result of manipulation, luck, or human favor, but of relentless obedience and unshakable trust in a God who always keeps His promises. So walk with confidence, but also with humility. Remember that the true measure of a chosen one is not in how high they rise, but in how graciously they respond to those who once stood against them. Bless your enemies as you move forward, and let God's justice be your only vindication. Chosen one, as your enemies fall and you rise, know this: your story is being written for the world to see, so that every eye may recognize the author behind your elevation. This is the season of public vindication. Your rise will echo through generations. Chosen one, there is coming a moment when God will turn the tables in public view. The same audience that saw your struggle, your humiliation, and your pain will witness your restoration. Divine vindication does not happen in the shadows. It happens on a stage where everyone can see what the Lord has done. The story God is writing with your life is not a secret. It is a testimony crafted to display His faithfulness to all who watched your journey. Perhaps you remember how you felt exposed during your lowest moments. People talked, speculated, and some even rejoiced at your hardship. There were those who shared rumors, stood by as silent witnesses, or simply wrote you off as finished. But what they did not know is that God was allowing this public pain so that the restoration would also be public, undeniable, unmistakable, and impossible to ignore. This is the pattern of heaven. Think of Job, whose losses were seen by the whole community. His friends gathered to question and pity him, to offer explanations for his suffering. But when God restored Job, He did so with a double portion, and the entire region witnessed his comeback. It became a story not just of endurance, but of divine reversal, a narrative that elevated Job's name for generations to come. Your story is following this same arc. The tables are turning, and those who saw you in the ashes will witness you rising from them. Those who believed your best days were behind you will see God set a new table before you, in the very presence of those who opposed you. Even those who doubted your worth will be silenced by the evidence of your blessing. Don't be surprised if some of your loudest critics become your quiet admirers, or if those who distanced themselves during your trials seek your presence once favor is restored. The shift is not about theme, it is about God proving to every onlooker that He alone controls the narrative of the chosen. He delights in rewriting endings, in lifting the humble, in crowning the heads of those who were once mocked and overlooked. But this public restoration comes with a responsibility. Your testimony will inspire many, but it must always point to the true source of your victory. Remain humble, Let gratitude be your loudest response. Share your story, not as a means to boast over your enemies, but as a declaration of what God can do for all who trust Him through pain. You are a signpost, a living letter, an open book that others are reading. Let them see the goodness of the Lord, the strength forged in your trials, and the peace that now marks your days. For every moment you spent exposed in your pain, you will spend double in joy and honor, celebrated in front of the same witnesses who saw your tears. Chosen one, the tables are turning in public. Your vindication will be seen, your restoration celebrated, and your enemies silenced not by your effort, but by God's undeniable intervention. Let the world watch, for what's about to unfold in your life is a display of divine justice. Chosen one, as you witness the tables turning and your restoration becoming public, know this: God is granting you supernatural longevity. You are not only meant to survive this season, but to live long, thrive, and remain relevant for the full span of your divine calling. While others fade, while the strength of your adversaries weakens with time, God is extending your days and refreshing your youth so that you outlast every plot, every attack, and every storm. Divine longevity is not just about adding years to your life. It is about infusing your days with purpose, health, and impact. You'll notice signs. Where others grow weary, your energy returns. Where minds dull with age or burden, yours becomes sharper and more creative. Even your physical body will respond to this promise. As aches begin to fade, your walk regains its bounce. And people wonder at the radiance that seems to increase rather than diminish with time. Remember Moses, who Scripture says had eyes undimmed and vigor unabated at the age of 120. He led, taught, and mentored until his final breath. Or consider Anna, the prophetess, who lived to an old age and was still sharp in spirit, attuned to God's voice, and at the center of divine appointments. This same grace is being released over you. The world has set ideas about aging and decline, but you are called to be a living contradiction, a testimony that God's power can preserve, renew, and even reverse the toll of years. This supernatural longevity serves a purpose far beyond your comfort. The mission placed on your life is multi-generational. You are here to witness the collapse of old systems, to nurture the next wave of chosen ones, and to finish your assignment with clarity and strength. Your longevity frustrates the enemy, who hope to see you burn out, fade away, or become irrelevant. Instead, you'll remain strong, sharp, influential long after your adversaries have vanished from the scene. Don't be surprised if opportunities, relationships, or new projects find you at an age or stage when the world expects you to be winding down. Divine longevity means your season of impact is just getting started when others are giving up. God is recalibrating your schedule, restoring years the locusts have eaten, and breathing life into every part of you that had been declared finished. You may also notice your influence deepening, not just broadening. Young people are drawn to your wisdom. Your words carry new weight. Your prayers release new breakthroughs. People come to you for guidance, comfort, and hope. You become a tree of life, providing shade, nourishment, and direction for those around you. This is not a promise of a life free from challenge or change, but a life marked by endurance and relevance. Your days will not be cut short. Your story will not end in obscurity. You will live to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. You will witness the fall of your enemies, the restoration of your name, and the fulfillment of promises God spoke to you long ago. Chosen one, embrace this supernatural longevity. Declare it over your life. Thank God daily for renewed strength, clear vision, and the privilege of being preserved for such a time as this. Your best days are not behind you. You are being kept, strengthened, and elevated to finish well, no matter what comes against you. Chosen one, as God preserves your life and multiplies your days, understand this: your legacy will echo long after your enemies and obstacles have faded from memory. You are not being kept just for your own victory, but so your story becomes a living prophesying, unbreakable testament that will outlast generations. Even when those who opposed you are forgotten, your impact will continue to speak, inspire, and bear fruit. Your legacy is not measured only by achievements or accolades, but by the transformation you ignite in others. Every battle you survived, every mountain you climbed, and every season you endured is now a foundation for those who come after you. You are building spiritual inheritance, not just for your family, but for an entire generation hungry for hope, resilience, and truth. Consider the legacy of Joseph. After outliving his betrayers, he became the source of salvation for his family and the entire nation of Egypt. Long after his enemies disappeared, his name remained, his wisdom honored, and his story told as a beacon for those navigating betrayal and delay. Or think of Esther, whose courage in the face of destruction paved the way for the deliverance of her people. Her legacy lived on through every Jewish celebration of Purim, her story, a reminder of what one chosen life can accomplish. You, too, are being established as a pillar, a reference point in your community, your family, your circle of influence. People will remember not only what you survived, but how you overcame. Your choices today, your faithfulness in adversity, your refusal to curse your enemies or surrender your hope, all of this is writing a legacy that cannot be erased by time or by the passing storms of life. Even in your later years, your prayers will continue to protect, your wisdom will continue to guide, and your blessings will continue to open doors for those you love. The seeds you plant in faith will bear fruit in lives you may never meet. As your story is told and retold, others will draw courage from your example, discovering that God's faithfulness is not a theory, but a living reality. Let this be your comfort when loneliness comes, when the battle seems never-ending, or when you wonder if your life has made a difference. God is weaving every detail into a tapestry of influence that will outlive your enemies, outlast your critics, and outshine every attempt to silence your voice. Chosen one, guard your legacy. Continue to sow in love, to build in faith, to forgive, to encourage, to lead by example. You are not just surviving, you are making history. Heaven keeps a record of every sacrifice, every act of obedience, every private victory. And one day, you will see that your life became a lamp guiding many out of darkness, lighting the way long after you have walked ahead. Your enemies will fade, but your legacy will speak. Chosen one, this is the hour of your final witness, when your life becomes the undeniable proof that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and that God alone writes the last chapter. Every battle, every disappointment, every hidden act of endurance now culminates in a season where God's glory is revealed not just to you, but through you. You are becoming the living testimony. The world needs a walking prophecy that outlasts every enemy, every storm, and every attempt to silence the chosen. Your journey has not been easy. You felt the pressure, the scrutiny, and the loneliness of standing for truth while others wavered or mocked. But every test has refined you, every valley has taught you the depth of God's presence, and every delay has increased your longing for things that truly last. Now, in the sight of witnesses seen and unseen, your story shifts from surviving to shining, from enduring to inspiring, from hoping to fulfilling. This is the season where the fullness of God's promise manifests. The people who once saw only your struggle will see your strength. The voices that predicted your end will be silenced by your perseverance. Even the enemy himself must watch as you inherit the land, the influence, and the peace meant for you since before you were born. Your very existence confounds the darkness. Your resilience, your youthfulness, your impact, all point to a power that cannot be explained away. Let your daily life become an altar, every breath, every step, every word, a song of gratitude. The blessing God pours over you now isn't just for your comfort, but as a beacon for others lost in despair. Let your generosity, your forgiveness, your joy in adversity be the evidence that God preserves, protects, and promotes those He calls His own. Chosen one, receive this divine confirmation. Heaven records your faithfulness and responds with honor. The delays are over. The vindication is public. The story of your survival becomes a banner of hope to the discouraged, a rebuke to the cynic, and a call to faith for the next generation of chosen ones. You have outlived your enemies, not through vengeance, but through endurance, obedience, and the favor of the Almighty. Now, stand tall, walk boldly, bless and do not curse, love and do not fear, lead and do not shrink. You are not just a recipient of mercy, you are now a channel for it. May your days be many, your years abundant in fruitfulness. May your presence release peace wherever you go. May your enemy's memory fade, but your testimony ring louder with every passing season. And may you see with your own eyes the glory of God revealed through your life. This isn't the end of your story, it's the threshold of a legacy. Greater victories, deeper joys, and unexpected promotions are on the horizon. Stay ready. What God does next will cause every watching eye to marvel, for the chosen always finish strong.